Hello and welcome to Third Eye Africa TV, and we're discussing democracy in action. Nigeria, as it is always said, is on the move again. 2027, well, the path is there. Political parties are moving on. And in particular, we want to look at what I call matters arising, some issues arising from the PDP convention and any other political party that is also moving or hoping to have their convention so soon. My name is Ben Shaman, your regular host, and I have with me a lawyer. In the media world, is not new, and when it comes to the legal profession, he is there. In terms of human rights, he's also there, always in the streets. I want to welcome Barrister Frank Tietie.
Thank you, Mr. Ben. It's my pleasure, as always.
Thank you for honoring our invitation once again. Now, let me just ask this. Was there a convention by PDP?
Yes, there was. I think the status of the convention will be in question, but whether or not a convention actually took place in Ibadan, as a matter of fact, there was a convention that held. And emanating from that convention are new leaders of the PDP, whose status too have been called to question. And they are also trying to establish their hold on the party. I think the PDP is going through some form of comedy of errors as we speak, because while the convention was to go on, there was a court order emanating from the camp of former Jigawa State Governor
Sule
Lamido, who thought he was excluded. There's no doubt about the fact that Lamido is actually a popular personality who has made several sacrifices for the PDP in time past. If there is no basis for excluding him, but the party needed to be rescued. The party is more or less has been of some kind of life support. So if they were going to reach a consensus candidate, a compromise candidate, a person of Turaki, then they should have. That's exactly what has happened. So the contention now is that the Anyanwu factor, which has been, holding on to the saddle with the support of the very all-powerful Nyesom Wike, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, is still, holding on to the fact that there is no convention, and the convention is not only illegal, a court order stopping it, and that they are still in charge to the extent that they have called for both a NEC meeting and the BOT meeting today as we speak. So I think we will be headed back to the courts for a clear and certain determination of the crisis that has bedeviled the PDP so far.
And probably not just the PDP, sometimes what you call internal democracies within these political parties. There's always this imposition, and that was why Sule Lamido felt, look, as a founding member, he's virtually or almost the single man standing. Every other person hovering around PDP within that cabinet, if I call it a cabinet, are just joiners much later in life. But those who sat down to create that PDP, Jerry Ghana Uncle, even Olabode George, joined much later, but the issue is that some people felt Sule Lamido, the time that was given for forms to be taken, he went late. That was one. Some other people felt that, look, it ought to have been zoned to the north, and he should be the one to grab it. And so, how do we come out of this?
If there's anything the PDP should avoid, is an unnecessary crisis after what has happened to it, having lost the last two general elections at the presidential level, having also become in disarray because an influential personality like Nyesom Wike had decided to bring the party down by undermining its leadership this while. What the PDP needed was, no doubt, a level of compromise. And this may be my personal opinion, that to a large extent, Sule Lamido has ended. He's been there for a long time, governor of Jigawa State, the anointed of former President Olusegun Obasanjo in terms of being a good and faithful servant to the said Obasanjo, who liked him very. Obasanjo he never hid his love and likeness for Sule Lamido. And the PDP being a party that has been more national, I would say, in its outlook, this would have been a time to avoid the crisis of, leadership. If it doesn't matter the time that Sule Lamido came in, his influence, actually, if you look at all the contenders for that leadership of the PDP at that time, none of them, in a fair sense, could actually match the influence of Sule Lamido. So the politicians always have a way of accommodating these things, except there was a particular agenda to truly exclude him. Sule Lamido should have been given the opportunity to, put the PDP together. And given the fact that he was a founding member, possessing the original vision of the PDP, and someone who also has that ability to carry out a handshake of outreach across the Niger to the southern part of the country. So it would have been a good thing if Sule Lamido was given the fair chance, and if he failed and his support was still sustained. The PDP, despite having been through so much, people like Sule Lamido have withstood the storm, stood with the party through thick and thin. So it's not a good thing that he was said to have been excluded. Whereas zoning the party leadership to the north, of course, it's only proper that when because the PDP must always be commended for introducing and adhering to a zoning, formula in our polity that has ensured some measure of stability.
And that's what other parties are following.
Yes, and to a large extent, it's conventional in the PDP, and that if a certain zone has produced the leadership or the particular position or post, person for that post, if the person is removed before the tenure expires, the proper thing that is done is that when there is a replacement, it goes back to that same zone where the previous occupant of the office came from. So it would have been appropriate if it was expressly zoned to the north. And I think that was the understanding, that this zoning, it's going to be someone from the north that should lead the PDP for some form of balancing as the elections in 2027 are approaching.
Now, Wike's angst those days was that in terms of zoning, the presidency ought to go to the south. But suddenly PDP, Atiku, and some other people felt, okay, they can still contest against Tinubu, for example. And that also angered, Wike. But today, if you have Makinde, a southerner who is having some aspirations, then it is also assumed that, okay, the North should also be the chairman. Not just assumption now, because Turaki is there as a chairman of the party. But shouldn't that have pacified Wike?
No, not at all. Not at all. Wike is not saying what he is doing. He's also not saying what he wants. But what he wants is so clear to everyone. Wike is a super minister in the government of President Tinubu. The reason is because as a member of PDP, as a serving governor in the PDP, he worked against the PDP, worked to support APC, got quite a large number of votes in Rivers State.
And sorry to cut you short, and that's exactly where PDP has some grosses against him.
Of course, and that's the reason
because
why
he's working against PDP.
But his work against the PDP was, paid off. because he seemed to be the only non-APC member that is as the cabinet member today. And it's not just in the cabinet of President Tinubu. He occupies a super ministry, which is the Ministry of the Federal Capital Territory. One of the most, if not the most powerful ministries, if we remove defense and the other housing and all that. But because of the influence and the terms and resources that he commands as Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, puts him in a very advantageous position to now, cause more problem for the PDP. Because he said it, that he would, having been denied the vice presidency slot, and he was particularly angry with the PDP, thinking that Atiku didn't have any business in 2023 to contest the primaries. I mean, in the build-up to the 2023 elections to contest for the primaries. And even when Atiku won, he felt a sense of entitlement that he should be the vice presidential candidate to Atiku. All of that he didn't get. So he chose to work against the PDP. So that whatever arrangement that is going on now that does not suit Wike's interest, he will definitely fight it. And let us try to define what Wike's interest is. The interest is simple. He is benefiting from Tinubu's government. In 2027, there is going to be a decisive election to know whether Tinubu will get re-elected. And this is a situation where Tinubu knows for certain that he doesn't quite enjoy the support of the North as he once did in 2023. And so it's important that he holds on to every Southern support that he can get. Now, Wike seems to have much of the control in a very key state like Rivers State, which will, and what Wike is trying to do is to ensure that the PDP does not even have a presidential candidate at all, in order to reduce the challenge against his now principal, who is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
But do you think APC should trust him? PDP should trust him?
No. See, PDP has made its mind clear with regards to Wike. It has even expelled Wike. I'm talking about this group. However, there are a lot of things that are in favor of Wike at this time. And speaking in terms of legal compliance, that a convention held, despite a restraining court order saying that it shouldn't hold. In fact, with another court order saying it could go on. However, those two conflicting orders will be tested based on the subject matters that are before them. And it is most likely that the federal court that said that the convention should not hold is most likely going to nullify whatever the outcome of that convention is. And that is something we should be watching out for. And in that case, it means that the status quo will still favor Wike with his friends like Samuel Anyanwu remaining as secretary of the party, who is able to call a meeting and, get decisions to be made. Now, the PDP certainly does not trust Wike. The APC does not have any option but to trust Wike. After all, Wike has ended. Wike successfully using the voice of Jacob and the hands of Esau to bring disarray to the PDP as we speak. The PDP is not much of an opposition party anymore to the APC. So irrespective of how much how much disappointment the North may have had in Tinubu at the end of his 4 years, Tinubu is still likely to come back as re-elected for a second term because of the weakness of opposition parties like PDP and the Labour Party that have all suffered, internal wranglings as a result of failure to just simply play by the rules.
Now, look at that big hype when El-Rufai and his fellow political friends, David Mark and co., just walk over and say, look, this is the end of the road. Cul-de-sac, as the French would say, to Tinubu. Now, some people are now saying the election in Anambra State is a verdict. Nobody is challenging that, going to court.
Many people are losing interest in the courts because there are two things. Either the elections were so well conducted that even the losers come to the conclusion that they truly lost, or they have lost the hope that they will ever get justice from a justice system that they don't understand on many occasions the basis for its decisions. Many Nigerians are still very confused why someone who came forth in an election was declared the winner of that election and is currently governor and even won a re-election. The only reason is that they no longer want to challenge because they believe that the whole system is rigged against certain people. And that's not a very good thing, which means it's a resignation to fate. It's a bad sign for in the development of our democracy, meaning people no longer want to challenge what they know obviously is not correct. So that may also be the situation. However, it is important that when persons are declared as winners of election, they indeed end that election. In what we are seeing with regards to the misfortune of the PDP is that it is its own internal troubles, together with the vibrant party like Labour Party, the internal troubles they have are actually tearing them apart, bringing them to a point of, irrelevance as we approach 2027. You see, elections are won mainly, not only by popularity, not only by influence, but resources count. And in a situation where a party is not able to work together to put resources to go into an election, failure is already looming in the face. So what is happening in the PDP and the other parties like the Labour Party is like just handing over the presidency to Tinubu 2027. But you mentioned El-Rufai, and who earlier had joined SDP and then was said to have also made inroads in the ADC. And then when you see political bigwigs like Atiku, David Mark, all of them moving to the ADC, now all signaling that truly the days of the PDP, the reigning days of the PDP are coming to an end, and thinking that there is going to now be some form of focused opposition against Tinubu in 2027 with ADC, and the pronouncements of people like El-Rufai, who made confident statement, I would say, that if PDP is not, Tinubu is not even likely to come third in 2027 because of the machinery of the opposition that they have put together. You wonder whether he's living in dreamland, because as we speak, the APC, except that he's counting on the high degree of discontentment against the Tinubu government in the north, where he seems to have some form of influence. But fortunately, the APC government does not seem worried about El-Rufai at all, even though they think that the former President Goodluck Jonathan, if ever he gets into the race, that is when it will become much of a threat. But anything, Atiku Abubakar, El-Rufai, David Mark, and then the likes of people trying to use the PDP, they don't see that as any much of a threat at all.
Now, before we continue that, let's look at the All Nigerian Judges Conference,
yes,
where President Tinubu graciously declared it open. What did he tell the judges? He said, justice should not be for sale, cash and carry basis. Mm-hmm. What's your comment on that?
Oh, well, coming from the president, it means that there's a final acknowledgement that he did in certain circles, justice has been sold. He urged the judges not to be corrupt, meaning that there's a presumption that the judges are also corrupt. I think it's a very encouraging thing for the president to now sound the alarm as to what members of the civil society have been saying, as to what many political players have been saying, as to what many major stakeholders in the judiciary have been saying. In fact, there are some blatant cases of, cases of blatant corruption in the judiciary that have defied imagination, yet they have gone unaddressed. And unfortunately, the people know about these things, and there is nothing they can do about them, especially when the Supreme Court is giving a judgment that is manifestly, unjust, unfair, and leaving the only explanation to be that of corruption and bribery that have influenced the judges. So these things are in the public domain, and coming from the president, this challenge and the charge coming from the president is an indication that there is the long sought after judicial reforms we've been clamoring for will actually take place, knowing that justice in itself is rooted in confidence. If the confidence of the public is now being lost, that the judiciary does not give judgment based on the merit of the facts and merits of the law, and that it actually gives judgment only in terms of the highest bidder, and then we are not even dealing with justice. We are dealing with a situation of what I would call prebendalism, where who has more money to give to the judge would dictate to him what he should write. Democracy is actually more threatened than in any other way. I mean, in this way more than any other way, when judges can no longer say the law the way it is.
Now, initially, when I said we'll go back, let's discuss the All Judges Conference. So initially you said, President Tinubu wants to get the southern votes, hold them very well, and starting with Rivers State. Now let's look at the northern votes, for example. Is APC under threat in the north?
Certainly. Even though we have a gale of defections of governors, especially in southern Nigeria, and then expectedly in some other parts of northern Nigeria to the APC, the traditionally did not make traditionally in political terms, the north makes votes as a bloc. But now when we're dealing with the north, we're not talking about north central, northeast, and northwest. Whereas the discontentment is so much in the north central because of the intractability of the insecurity situation and the expectation that the buck stops at the president's table. So whatever that is happening, the suffering, the pain of banditry, kidnapping, and heightened terrorism, the president is blamed. And it's looked as if he abandoned the north. Now, we've also seen a pattern in government, which is the subtle reign of nepotism, where, and I hate to use this word in quote, juicy positions in government, political positions in government, are reserved for the kith and kin of the ethnic affiliates of the president. That was the kind of politics that also was visible under former President Muhammad Buhari. But it seems as if President Tinubu has taken it to a height that has become very infuriating to people in the north. And the northern politicians have not hidden it. That the appointments have been skewed. They've been skewed against the north. And if you look at, apart from the general state of insurgency in the north, the north is suffering, gross poverty. And we are not saying that, taking the bull by the horns when it comes to dealing with the insecurity situation in northern Nigeria and that of the human resource crisis, the educational crisis, out of school children, which at the last count numbered by certain statistics over 18.3 million children that are out of school, particularly in northern Nigeria. These are all indications of abandonment of the region by the government, and definitely the politicians of the region will fight back. I am very sure that Tinubu will have a hard time convincing the North to support him in 2027.
But still looking at Anambra, for example, if you look at the discourse of other political parties, I mean, with all the noise, Peter Obi being a former governor of the state and all that stuff. See the abysmal performance by these political parties, be the SDP or Labour or ADC and all that stuff. Does it also not say that, look, the opposition is gone to bed?
Not really. I think that we should say it the way it is. Politics in Nigeria has one important factor which affects all the election more than anything else, and that is resources. The issue of resources. There may be rumors, some of which were facts of intended vote buying in Anambra, and even though the EFCC actually arrested some persons who were directly buying votes, all of that indicates that the low figures you saw being garnered by the opposition as a result of lack of resources. If they have the kind of resources, it doesn't matter whether the resources are illegally used for the purchase of votes, which was obvious in Anambra State in certain situations. But, the average Nigerian electorate, voter, is driven by the sentiments of ethnicity and the short-term expectation of what is in it for me. In that case, in the case of Anambra, I think that money politics played a lot of role in that. The Labour Party, with its mentality of not giving shishi, in quote, and other opposition parties that could not, muster the level of resources to equal that of a sitting governor is something that I think should be considered as a factor that affected them. The people were more motivated. The situation, you see, vote buying, or rather voter inducement, is something that happens not only in Nigeria, but across the world. It depends on whether or not you're caught, or whether you are running foul of the law, or falling within the compliance limit of the law. So in that case, I believe I blame the poor performance of the opposition, not necessarily in their inability to sell themselves as alternative to Governor Soludo, but because they lacked resources to match the influence which the ruling party, ABGA, and the person of Professor Soludo had to give.
Once upon a time, if we look at the Southwest, for example, at the point outside Lagos, it was all a PDP matter. Now, south to south, you could see the way PDP also held sway there. Today, APC is virtually holding sway there.
Yes.
Because the Bayelsa State Governor, the Adiri, has crossed over.
Yes.
Now, the Rivers man is still waiting for orders from from his boss here in Abuja, the Minister of FCT.
Which I doubt, because the frosty relationship between Governor Similaye Fubara and Nyesom Wike, the Minister of the FCT, is not something we should bank on. I think that the Governor Fubara, is simply being more careful this time, not to be more open with his intention, because he's got his fingers burnt when he attempted to assert himself as governor, independent of the man who independent of his godfather, Nyesom Wike, the man who made him as a governor. Now, I can tell you that much of the hope that Fubara has in getting re-elected for a second term lies in the fact that he would become a member of the All Progressive Congress. Because at this time, if you see PDP governors like Sheriff Oboriwo, like Peter Mba in time past, who have been doing very well, who know that if they go to any election that is free and fair, they will win. Nevertheless, the fear of federal might made them to abandon the PDP that gave them everything in their political life, and to now migrate and defect to the APC. Governor Fubara doesn't stand a chance without going to the APC. After all, the challenge therefore will now be what happens to the current leadership of the APC. What happens to interests like that of Tony Eko, in Rivers State. Who have also thought that they are supposed to be the ones who have paid the price to be the APC representatives, But nevertheless, once the governor is coming, automatically becomes the frontline personality, political personality in that political party. So I am very confident that at the appropriate time, Governor Sim Fubara will also follow the trend of defection to APC. The PDP cannot give him the kind of support that he would require. The people supported him, and nevertheless, the weight of the federal mind, when it came down on him, I'm sure that he's still very much recovering from the effect of his suspension as governor, and he would think twice.
And probably he's still moving like the new fowl in a new environment.
Exactly.
One leg down, one leg up. And that's why he didn't also go for the
No, he was very, very careful.
Very convention.
Very careful. Because the president actually saved him. It could have been worse than that. If the president had not, according to the president, if he had not imposed the state of emergency in Rivers State, the road was wide open for his outright impeachment as governor. Nyesom Wike had both the resources and the strategic plan to do that, and it was just coming to play before the president rescued him with the state of emergency.
So, and that's do I say the good side of godfatherism or bad side of
godfatherism has both good and bad sides. Unfortunately, no political personality can claim to be where he or she is without some form of godfatherism. There must be people who have gone the way ahead before you, that have shown you the way and supported you before you got there. Unfortunately, when godfathers now do whatever they do in the name of political mentorship for the purpose of self-interest, for the purpose of controlling the treasury of the state, that's where the actual problem comes from.
Well, let us pause a bit for you to sip some water. As we continue, now we've been discussing with Barrister Frank Tietie, a lawyer, human rights activist, and, of course, a man who has always stood for Nigeria against bad governance. My name is Ben Shaman. Let's take this break.
We're talking about South and the North. You talk about middle belt. Currently in Nigeria, we don't have middle belt. North Central is what we have.
Okay.
And they are included in the North. If the perception is because Nigeria is standing on a tripod, you have Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, they are the owners of Nigeria. That is a very wrong perception. These are major tribes in Nigeria. Simple.
Yeah.
Nigeria is owned by every single citizen of this country.
If you go to civilized nations, they possibly have, stratified their political parties such that those who play at the national level are there. And at the local level, you have other minor political parties playing there. And it gives sense of belonging to every citizen to be able to contest.
And in fact, once you have joined APC, all your sins are forgiven.
It's okay. It's okay. Off your mic. It's okay.
This is Third Eye Africa TV, exposing crime, savaging the nation.
Welcome back from this short break, and still talking politics. Will you say that El-Rufai and his team actually matched the tail of the tiger in simply saying, look, we are going to send him back from State House, send him back to Lagos State or wherever he comes from? Then Tinubu also decided to show them the art, the mastery, the game himself. We are, he ensured members of the Senate adopting him. You go to House of Reps, adopting him, and there's this crossover. And you can see the gale of also, look at the North Central. Caleb Mutfwang that was standing, PDP, the dance is moving, tilting towards. Then you go northeast, see Fintiri, Adama. I mean, he's also dancing towards. So it means that Tinubu is a master of the art?
Yes, there's no doubt about that. Tinubu is a master politician in this country. The journey of how he became president is enough testimony to that effect, that he is someone who knows how to, be strategic and for the purpose of getting results. El-Rufai's declaration that Tinubu will be sent back to Lagos and that he will come a distant third in the coming election actually should have sent some shockwaves to the Tinubu's camp. Because El-Rufai, despite his controversial personality, is seen as someone who commands some measure of influence. But you can see that the president hasn't responded much to him. Rather, is Governor Basani, the former protege of El-Rufai, that he has been given the mission to cut El-Rufai to size. The truth about it is that the worry that the president should have is that we are talking about a voting bloc that is in the north, that is driven by interest, oftentimes that is religious. Tinubu, it doesn't matter whether Tinubu is a Muslim. If Tinubu is seen as a southerner who is against the northern interest, I can tell you that if that is well advocated, well articulated, Tinubu might actually suffer some harm from that. Now, let's not forget too that it doesn't matter the number of defections. We're talking about votes here, and votes sometimes, because they are individual votes, when they come, it's not going to be determined by the number of persons who have defected. What will actually matter is the issue of structure. So who are those controlling the wards and the villages, the towns, and all those areas, the local government, who are able to gather mass votes? And I think that, Rotimi Amechi, El-Rufai, David Mark, and all of that are very much persons who are very much knowledgeable of the game. And I'm just hoping that if Tinubu does not bring a master stroke as they approach the 2027 election in northern Nigeria, I think that the El-Rufais, the Amechis, and David Mark and Atiku Abubakar would actually give him a run for his money as we approach the elections.
Well, we wait to see. But so let's go back to the same PDP again, the crux of this discussion. Now, will you say that the past chairman, Ambassador Umar Damagum, was he so much in a haste? Boy, let me just wash off my hands and say, look, take this thing and leave me alone. Let me begin to watch from behind. Because it looks like they were also in a haste. They would not want to check their internal democracies to ensure that complaints were resolved before the convention.
The problem with the PDP is that there is a major force that wants it destroyed, that wants it weakened as the elections in 2027 approach. So it's really not about Damagum. It's about that force that is working against the PDP from within and from without. And there are rumors everywhere that probably elements who support Tinubu are actually in all of these parties, whether they are ADC, SDP, PDP, and Labour Party, and that these elements just go there to cause crisis so that the parties never ever remain strong as we get to 2027, in favor of President Tinubu. That may be a rumor, but some semblance of realistic outcome is seen in this thing. When people like Wike begin to say, they don't believe that the president the PDP should have a presidential candidate in 2027 as a means of building the party, you will know that Damagum is neither the answer nor the problem of the PDP, and that indeed he was actually getting suffocated because he was chairman that, had a lot of disgruntled elements around him in the PDP and was seen to be being managed. So he was indeed in a hurry to wash his hands off the PDP like Pontius Pilate did, so that it would not be that it is he that ultimately killed the PDP. The PDP was very careful that despite the commitment of people like Governor Makinde and Bode George and the Bauchi State Governor Mohammed, all of those efforts could just come to nothing with these crises that are facing it, if they are not easily resolved, especially by consensus and not going to court. Because if they go to court now to even resolve this convention crisis, you'll be surprised that they'll be in court of appeal and they'll get up to Supreme Court. Before you do it, it will fall into the time for where political parties are supposed to be doing primaries. They will not have coordinated primaries, or they may not have primaries at all. All of these things are favoring the APC. So it's a story of how the mighty have fallen in the case of PDP.
PDP that says it will rule for 100 years.
Yes.
Now APC saying they will rule for 200 years.
Probably those are just the political statements.
And some other people are saying...
I very much doubted if the APC will survive after President Buhari. But I can see that President Tinubu might just... No. After President Buhari, we didn't think it was going to survive. Okay. But we now have a very strong politician like President Tinubu who has used the APC to come to power. There are going to be very strong likelihoods that the APC might have very serious problems after the end of a Tinubu presidency.
In fact, a member of the BOT, Board of Trustees of PDP, actually said, after 2027, is then those who ran away will run back again to form a kind of a solid opposition.
That's a very ambitious statement, because you never really can tell. The factors are too many to make such kind of, prediction.
Then, in the midst of all of this, it's like the women are just in abeyance. They are hibernating somewhere. I mean, the role of women in this political arena, it's just not too sure. It's not strong.
I think it's an emerging thing. We really, the involvement of women in our politics is an emerging trend. First, let us commend ourselves that we made progress in that area. We've encouraged women. It hasn't been this good that at the time the concept of women leader was not even there. So we now have women leaders. We have women mobilizers and all that. Unfortunately, we don't have many of them that are influential. So as we speak, those days we would have the likes of Kema Chikwe, we have who are very influential women. We have
Josephine Aneni.
Yeah, Josephine Aneni and all that. But
Mariam Inna.
Yes.
Chiroma.
So they are no longer wielding that kind of influence, because again, the fight is not for the women. Women, maybe they are better managers, but they are not in, for the fight. This is a fighting situation. It's a war situation going on. And it should not be surprising that our politically conscious women have given them a chance to do whatever they want to do. I think women will be better managers, and when the storm is over.
Okay. Your verdict is the fight is not for the women. But let's look at the fight as belonging to the youth. Before Buhari left, there was this law, not too young to run.
Yes.
Come out and run. Age reduced, now favoring the youth. See what is happening in Senegal? Some young people came on board, and of course they won. In Nigeria, it's like the youths are just followers.
Yeah, no, I think it's because the older generation is more entrenched in the political system. It's going to be very difficult to dislodge them. And they've mastered the art of making the youth to, as they say it, making the youth to think that they are the leaders of tomorrow. They are not the leaders of today.
Well,
so it's difficult to dispel that notion that they are not the leaders of today. I mean, they are the leaders of tomorrow. Very difficult. the youth always believe that, there is life is ahead, and let me just continue to serve these political ones that I know. Unfortunately, it will be their turn by accident, and at that time, they will not be prepared. Nigerian youth are actually disappointing themselves because they ought to own this country more than those who have used this country to achieve whatever ambitions that they had. But for the Nigerian youth, instead of focusing to have a country of his own, is more concerned than about how to leave the country because it doesn't really want to fight. So just as the women don't want to fight because the fight doesn't belong to them, in the case of the Nigerian youth, he believes that it is a matter for him to escape. Nothing good comes easy. If you want a good country, you have to work for it. All those countries they run to in Europe and the Americas, the people fought. Some even died. Some people stood their ground that they want a better country for their, children. The unfortunate thing is that the previous generation didn't want a better country for these young people that we have today. And these young people don't have a sense of what a better country could be for them other than a life abroad. It's a very sad situation.
And when you look at it, these political vanguards for His Excellency, political vanguard for this political party, political vanguard for this
I think, senator. No, let's understand, that's the weaponization of poverty. Not necessarily because it's not only the youth that they are using there. Those are ways of spreading resources, for the purpose of political mobilization. And the job of mobilization is for young people and for politically savvy people, not necessarily restricted to young people. So because of the need to first survive, Nigerian youths don't talk about issues of ideology. They talk about survival. They talk about, measuring up in one way or the other. So, but it is ideological and philosophical issues that will make a young person think about the future and how he can, contribute his quota as a leader. But the young Nigerian person doesn't really think himself as a possible leader, but he simply just wants to survive. He wants to scrounge. He wants to just, but in the hope, like, when you see young people like Omoyele Sowore trying to whip up, the consciousness of the young people to please realize that Nigeria can be better with a little more effort. Let's hope that his campaign is sustained and the result will be, anything to go by.
But just like you're speaking about weaponization of poverty, you also realize that these youth sometimes at the point they are giving some inducements, not just the money, but even some substances.
Yes, of course, yes. So that is one thing that is characteristic of our politics, the abuse of young people. Use them for violence, and the only reason you can turn a youth to become a violent agent is by giving them some, exposing them to some psychotropic, substances. And all of that. We see, so there is a relation between the use of drugs, the money, and then the purveyance of violence in our elections using young people. And the more we expose these things, so that these young persons don't fall into this trap, the better for the politics that we have in this country. So it's important that young people expose themselves more to ideologies, getting involved in debates, and coming around, for engagements like this, so that they can begin to understand the processes, the strategies that can give them, a future which they can actually, inherit in this country. Unfortunately, they are being driven by the politics of the immediate, the politics of stomach infrastructure, the politics of keeping up with their friends, with the Joneses on how to get the latest clothes and shoes. And then when it's becoming tough for them here, they go abroad. Unfortunately, the ones who are even smart have decided to use their knowledge for Yahoo, in quote, on how to defraud persons with that are suspected either within or without Nigeria. I mean, it's a critical situation.
Now, some people will say politically, Nigerians are so conscious. But when it comes to education, it's like education can wait. Because there's that massive political participation.
But you see that politics seems to be everything. Someone who didn't get who didn't go to school or didn't get a school certificate becomes a senator, becomes a member of the House of Assembly or House of Representatives, and is automatically swimming in millions. And take a look at the number of years that a young person has to put in to go to school. Sometimes, many years for you to become a doctor in this country, you probably spend about 30 years of your life or more first, and all that, and then get paid only to be paid a salary that is probably a tenth of what a politician who didn't even get school cert. So young people have seen that politics pays more than anything else. It pays more than even playing football, pays more than going to school, pays more than being a professional or doing some handwork or the other. So the consciousness is about what politics can do for you. And it's not helping the situation, because it simply sees politics as more of a lottery, that takes you to the promised land without much work, by lying, by deceiving, by being violent, by, taking what does not belong to you. I think it's a whole conversation, that is needed, that is also different from the fact that, we need to become better people.
So how do we see politics as a way of service?
No.
That servant leader, like Muazu of Niger State will say.
I don't think that we can divorce politics from law, based on my experience. Yes, politics is about the scramble for resources, how to allocate them legally, not in a crude form of fighting and because of survival of the fittest. No. Politics is about playing by the rules so that the resources can be allocated to individuals, for cities, for states, for local governments and all that. Essentially, that's what politics. It's about resources. It's about resource sharing, but it is about the legal, legitimate, sharing of resources. It is that aspect that we're failing. That legal culture, that legitimacy, that sense of compliance with law in the pursuit of sharing resources through the game of politics. That's where we're missing it. So we need to come back and say, let us play according to the rules. So when you're talking about rules, law. However, we need to look at the fact that politics is a game of numbers, politics is a game of resources. How do we share these resources so that we can all become better? And we have a very fantastic template as a country with the kind of constitution we have. Unfortunately, we as a people don't know how to operate politics in a manner that will guarantee our stability and progress.
Even when they say the presidential system is that costly.
Yes, it's costly because it's supposed to get more people involved in politics. Unfortunately, it's very, it's not yielding the outcome, because those who operate it, put themselves first before any other person. That's where it is. So government now becomes an opportunity to serve, because it's about, let us eat first before we think of how to give to the people.
So government is a company. It's an industry.
So it's unfortunate. It has to change. It has to change.
Now, this very last one, even though we touched it a bit, the leadership of the PDP. Now it appears there are two camps now, and each is laying claim and saying the law supports its own side. Now, who bows first?
No.
Is it the Turaki group or the Anyanwu group?
Interestingly, Turaki is a senior advocate of Nigeria, so he knows the law very well. What I am very confident in is that this kind of issues are only resolvable in the law court. Now we have decisions flowing from two courts of coordinate jurisdiction. So what we expect is that the matter will proceed to the Court of Appeal. Whatever the Court of Appeal pronounces becomes the order of the day. And my prediction is that if the Court of Appeal recognizes this Ibadan Convention, which is something that I believe will be very difficult to achieve, then we can know for certain who has taken the helm of affairs in the PDP. As things stand now, the Turaku group appears quite weak. However, if he deploys his cerebral knowledge as a lawyer, as a senior advocate of Nigeria. You can see the move he has made. Why they are arguing about why the Anyanwu group have gone to the secretariat to go and take over the premises. He went to the Commissioner of Police of the FCT to provide security. It seems as if he wants to go the path of law. So the only determination in resolving this crisis definitely will be the law court and nothing more. And even if it appears that Turaki is weak, if he plays his cards well using the courts, he might eventually be the game changer in reinstating PDP to a path of strength.
Not forgetting that there are times the courts will also say, look, go back and resolve your matters.
No. That's the height of irresponsibility.
But it has happened.
It has happened, but it was sorely criticized. The courts cannot do that. There is the role of the judiciary is conflict resolution. And you cannot have a conflict at the level, you see, you can't continue to give convenient judgments that don't want to rock the boat simply because somebody is suspecting that is being done in favor of the government, the ruling party. Now, that shouldn't happen. The courts must make a determination. They are already in court. There are already issues to be determined. There are already causes of action that have brought them to court. We have rulings, conflicting rulings from two different courts. That automatically, invokes the jurisdiction of the Court of Appeal, if at all any of them is able to make that application to the Court of Appeal. Definitely it will be resolved. The Court of Appeal will not withdraw. And don't forget to go to the Supreme Court. And that's why I pity the PDP. Because before it does all these travels, in the next 6 months or thereabout, we are talking about party primaries. And it's most likely that this contention in the law court will most likely linger beyond 6 months before it is resolved.
So it's already planned, skewed.
Yes. So the PDP is actually on the losing side.
Well, it is here that we wait and see whether PDP is on the losing side, whether they will spring a surprise, whether APC too will rev the engine of political votes in the north, as governors are also crossing over to the ruling party. It is here that we have to end it, and I want to thank you, Barrister Frank Tie, human rights activist. Thank you for coming to Third Eye.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
And like we say, proudly Nigerian, we remain one. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
My name is Ben Shaman. Keep watching us. We are at the Central Business District in Abuja. Third Eye TV it is. Thank you, and bye for now.